In the middle of Kalahari, where it is impossible for humans to live, there was a problem with their plane and the pilot crashed the plane. It is located in Africa, is the 6th largest desert in the world, spread over an area of 900,000 square kilometers. It is not as dry as the African Sahara, and that is why there are 320 different types of wildlife here. Hunting animals, lions, cheetahs, and African elephants, including wild dogs which do not tolerate anyone in their area. To see this wildlife, people from all over the world go to South Africa for desert safari. This desert is so big that it is shared by 3 countries in Africa, in which Botswana has the largest share of the Kalahari Desert. In Botswana's capital, Gaborone, a courier company's executive director, Carl de Plassis, did a private plane charter. He wanted to take his friends to a village called Mon, 600 kilometers away, showing them the magnificent views of the Kalahari Desert. On this flight, his friends Mike Nikolic and his wife Lennet Nikolic, along with Nep Grauerek and the pilot Costa Marcandonatis, were also on board. This plane was a twin-engine Cessna 414 in which these 5 people got very excited and boarded. The plane took off. It passed over the Kalahari Desert and headed towards Mon. This journey was 2 hours long, but after 1 hour, Lennet, who was already very nervous, saw oil leaking from one of the wings of the plane. At first he thought it was normal, but then he couldn't help it and shared this with his husband. When the pilot Costa was told, he carefully shut down the plane's engine which was leaking oil. According to the pilot, there was no danger in this, because there was still 1 engine left in the Cessna 414. But because of the scorching heat in the African desert, the air here is very thin and dry. Both engines required power to maintain their altitude. The plane was now slowly coming down. The pilot contacted the Gaborone control tower in an emergency, but unfortunately, the radio stopped working in the middle of the Kalahari. Only way to save the plane, to land it at a straight place. This was already at a very low altitude, so the pilot had to find a landing strip soon. The pilot only saw small and large rocks and bushes below, that is, there was no plain place. Now only option was to save his life. The pilot asked everyone to come to the brace position and crashed the plane in the middle of the bushes. Before the crash landed, the passengers inside only remembered that when they got very close to the ground, they saw a flock of animals running. When everyone came to their senses, there was only smoke and fire all around. Leonard's hand was burnt, and Nabe Grauerek's lungs were probably damaged because he couldn't breathe. Then everyone pulled Nabe out of the plane and put him upright with the help of a tree. Apart from these 2, other 3 did not have any serious injuries. He had just realized that the fuel leaking from the plane caught fire, and the entire plane exploded with a powerful explosion. Let me tell you here that every plane has an emergency transponder, which sends the plane's location to the control tower in case of a radio failure. When the pilot admitted that there was no emergency transponder in Cessna 414, the ground below everyone's feet came out. That means no one knows their location in such a big desert. In a deserted part of Kalahari, these people were stuck in the middle of the trees, where they had nothing left to drink and no food. It is important to get the 2 people to the hospital as soon as possible because they were hanging between life and death. Everyone hoped that a rescue team would come soon and get them out of here. But the rescue team will come when they know. Without a location, even if the rescue team starts looking for them in this desert, it can take them many days to get here. In the meantime, the day began to set and they set a bonfire using the fire of the plane. They kept hearing the sounds of wild animals all night, but maybe it was the bonfire that had kept the animals away. The second day had began, but the rescue team had no sign far away. The condition of the 5 was getting worse and worse. Their throats had dried up due to dehydration. Early in the morning, they started drinking the ozol on the leaves. But they had just had a few drops that the sun began to rise and this ozol also disappeared. In the meantime, they heard the sound of a ship from a distance. Hoping that the rescue team has reached here, they closed their eyes in the sky. They saw that a passenger plane was passing right above them. They left the smoke, called out, but everything was useless because it was almost impossible to notice them from such a height. Now they could see their death right here. Either they will die of hunger here, or if they come out, they may be prey to the hunger of the animals. Finally, the executive director Carl and the pilot decided to help in this dangerous desert. This decision was very dangerous, but there was no other option. They left behind their injured companions in search of help. The second day was also about to end. The condition of the crash site, Lannet, and Nap were getting worse. The hot weather that rained fire all day dehydrated them further. On the other hand, even after Carl and the pilot walked all day, they did not find any special hole in the water. It suddenly rained on the night of the second day, but this happened for so little time that the injured people on the crash site could not collect water in anything. Now 2 days had passed since the plane crashed. Carl and pilot Costa kept walking in the desert and bushes, but they did not see a human being or a water reservoir. Now they began to doubt whether they were going in the right direction or not. On the other hand, Nap began to have panic attacks due to extreme dehydration and damaged lungs on the crash site because he had been standing straight for the past 2 days. He decided to go into the jungle alone. He went a little further, and the rainwater collected in a hole in a tree. It was hardly a glass of water, which everyone shared and drank. Everyone spent the third and fourth day as if they had lost their courage and were just waiting for their death. Lennet's wounds were infected, so on the other hand, Carl and pilot Costa had been walking continuously for the past 4 days. It was also a miracle that in the African bushes, without experience, they had not yet been preyed upon by a wild animal. At the end of the 5th day, Carl and the pilot saw a hut from a distance. At first they thought it was their illusion because they had had such thoughts many times on the way. It was really a hut in which a girl was sitting. Seeing this, their lives came to life. They first quenched their thirst there and made a radio and told the whole story to their control tower. The rescue team was already looking for them in Kalahari, but due to not knowing the correct location, they were looking for them in the other parts of the desert. On the 6th day of the crash, all 3 friends had already lost their breath on the crash site in the early morning that the sound of the helicopter filled them with life. Finally, the rescue team had reached the crash site. The survivors of this plane crash say that it is no less than a miracle for the rescue team to reach there just a few seconds before death. It was a good decision by Carl and pilot Costa to leave their friends for help. All the people involved in this accident survived, but after 2 years, the pilot lost his life in another plane crash.